Good morning, guys. I'm going to start out this morning and I'm going to get a basic pizza dough in my bread machine, get it started for 2 pounds worth of dough. I've already got my water warm, my butter melted, and I'm just going to get it all going, and then I'm going to move on and start working on other things because this takes about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, and that way when I get to this part of our freezer cooking, it'll be ready to go. I put my wet ingredients in the bottom, the dry ingredients on top, make a little well, put my yeast in it, and then just put it in the bread machine, set it on pizza dough. Now I'm going to start a double batch of spaghetti sauce. I have 1 pound of ground beef because ground beef was not easy to find, and a package of Italian sausage. I'm going to mix them together so there's a little bit more meat in this sauce. Okay, so while this meat gets cooking, I'm going to start some chocolate chip cookies for the freezer. I have all my ingredients here, and the ingredients for the chocolate chip cookies as well as the pizza dough and any other recipes you might be interested in will be in the description box below, guys. But basically what I'm going to do is take my melted butter, add my sugar, my brown sugar, mix it up. I'm going to use the mixer for my immersion blender, add the eggs and vanilla, mix it up, and then add my dry ingredients, mix it up again by hand when I get the dry ingredients in there because it's too hard to mix with a whisk, and then I'll stir in my chocolate chips. I am going to put this dough in the freezer for about an hour and let it chill before I make my balls of cookie dough, just to kind of help make it easier to handle. I'm trying to keep more things around here that Mika can help with because she really likes to cook in the kitchen and she likes to do a lot of things where I'm not helping her, so this makes it easier for her to just pull out the cookie dough and make some cookies when she feels like helping out with making dessert. I got this big bowl at Dollar General on clearance for 25 cents like 15 years ago. It's still my favorite bowl, and I'm afraid that by the time my kids are teenagers, we will have long outgrown this bowl and we're going to need a bigger one. But for now, it works well for making cookies and having like big batches of chicken and rice and things like that mixed up. So now that the dough is almost done and it's getting thicker, I'm going to switch over, use a wooden spoon to finish mixing this up and get it ready to add the chocolate chips. The next thing I plan on cooking is a batch of snickerdoodle cookie dough and probably some monster cookie dough. I think those are going to be on my agenda for the next time I make cookies. I also need to pick up more SunButter so I can make a bigger batch of SunButter cookie dough and get it in the freezer, because the ones I made today, I made a small batch because that's all we had in the house. So I used up all the SunButter we had and made up just enough that Penny could have some cookies because she can't have peanut butter cookies, and I'll show you that later today. But back to the chocolate chip cookies, I used half a bag of dark chocolate, half a bag of milk chocolate because that's what we had in the freezer, and that's what's going to work for these cookies. So I'm just going to kind of mix this around a little bit, get these put in the freezer, and we are going to move on to other things. And later I'll come back and make the balls of cookie dough, put them on a baking sheet, and pop them back in the freezer. But we are going to work on the spaghetti sauce now. Okay, I have a marinara traditional sauce, 2 tomato sauces, a tomato paste, 4 cans of mushrooms. I sliced up a can of olives, and then we have a big can of crushed tomatoes. I've already drained the meat and put it in my slow cooker, and then added all the ingredients plus some minced garlic and Italian seasoning from Sam's Club. Now I'm just going to stir it and let it simmer for about 2 hours, and then turn it off, let it cool down enough that I can bag up about 2 bags worth of it, and then the last of it will stay in the slow cooker and be for tonight's dinner so that I can work on other things, and later all I have to do is boil some pasta and add it to the slow cooker. We all like a really thick and hearty spaghetti sauce when we eat spaghetti, so this looks really good for us. Okay, so now that I've got this all mixed up and set to cook, I'm just going to leave it alone, and we are going to move on again and work on something else. My goal today was to get in as much as I could in 4 hours and then have lunch and clean up and go on with our day. I ended up taking a little bit of a break, going out and working in the garden, so now our chocolate cookie dough is ready. I'm just going to make up a bunch of balls of dough, drop them on a baking sheet that has a little bit of flour on the bottom, and get them in the freezer. Once they are a little bit firmer, we will get them bagged up and divided up into about 3 or 4 batches of chocolate chip cookie dough. Okay, so I've got them all crammed on a baking sheet. I'm going to pop them in the freezer until they are ready to bag up, and I'm going to work on some Canadian bacon and cheese Hot Pockets. I'm going to roll out the dough into a great big rectangle or square, as big as I can get it, and then I'm going to kind of eye it and cut it into rectangles so that we can just fill them with some Canadian bacon and cheese, push the edges down with a fork, and get them on a baking sheet. I'll bake them and about 10 minutes until they're kind of just starting to brown, and then I'll pull them out, cool them off. The kids are going to eat some for lunch today. The rest are going to go in the freezer for lunch another day. I have some marinara left over from when we made the English muffin pizzas, and I'm going to bag up some of that, and I'm going to give the kids some of that for dip in case any of them want dip to dip it in. But if not, they'll have dip for next time in a little baggie in the freezer with the rest of these. So I actually started out with the squares this big and the Canadian bacon and the cheese chopped up. I made one, decided it was too big for everybody except for CJ. He did eat this one, but I'm going to go ahead and after I make this one, cut them all in half, all my squares, and make them a little bit smaller because he can eat two and that's no big deal, but one this size is too big for all the other kids in the house. So I'm going to get these split up now into half the size and get them all stuffed and ready to go on baking sheets and baked. And again, all the instructions and ingredients and everything will be in the description box below if you want to try any of these. Sometimes we do mozzarella cheese, pepperoni, and a little bit of pasta sauce. Sometimes we do, if we have leftover chicken, we'll do chicken, cheese, and broccoli. That's one the kids really like as well. I have also stuffed them with leftover fajita meat with like chicken and bell pepper and onion. CJ and I really like those. The rest of the kids not so much, but the possibilities are endless. You could even do like fruit pies like this and it would work out just the same. But today we are sticking with Canadian bacon and cheese, and next time I'll probably do the pepperoni because we haven't had pepperoni and cheese in quite a while. But if you saw my last freezer cooking video, you know that we just did a ton of little mini pizzas for the freezer. So anyways, these are done. They're popped out of the oven. I'm going to give all the kids one and some of that marinara. And then these are the ones that are going in the freezer. And I froze up this little bag of marinara, slipped it in there with them, and then froze the whole bag up. And while I was at it, I went ahead and bagged up 3 bags of chocolate chip cookies and got them ready. And then 2 bags of spaghetti. The spaghetti I will lay on a baking sheet and put in the freezer so that it lays flat and it freezes flat so that I can sit it upright in the freezer and save space. So now I'm going to share this recipe in the description box below as well. I am making SunButter Cookies for Penny. She can't have any type of nuts. SunButter is the only thing she can have because she can't have soy, and Wow, I think it's called Wow Butter, is soy. So we do SunButter. It's basically like a peanut butter cookie for her though, because she can't have those. So when I have peanut butter cookies for everybody else, I can make her a few of these and she doesn't feel left out. These do not freeze well as like cookie balls or in logs because the dough is a little bit runnier. It works if I just fill a bag full of it and she just scoops it out with a spoon onto a greased pan and we cook them for like 9 minutes and she's set. But still the same. I mean, she doesn't feel left out. So that's why I'm making these for her, because it's easy for me to just pull out the bag, let it sit out long enough to scoop out a few cookies, and she's good. Just for fun, I'm adding a few butterscotch chips to hers, just again to make it more fun for her and so she's not left out when the other kids have things. This makes a very small batch of cookies. It is certainly not a big batch like the chocolate chip cookies I made earlier or the peanut butter cookies I'm going to make right now. So I've got my big pan out again, all the ingredients out for the peanut butter cookies, already melted the butter, all that jazz. I'm going to get started on these. Again, recipe will be in the description box below. This is our favorite peanut butter cookie recipe. I am actually going to make some of these from this dough and some of the SunButter cookies for Penny tonight for after dinner, and I'm going to freeze the rest. These I'm going to go ahead and just freeze in logs. That way we can just slice them, kind of dip them in the sugar on the end, and push on them with the fork, and they're ready to go. Instead of doing the balls of dough, I just don't feel like doing those right now, so I'm just going to do logs. And this is just a really easy way for me to have desserts again, like I said earlier, and a way for Mika to help with desserts because that's what she likes to do. And we don't do dessert a lot, but I kind of felt like we should kind of get back to doing that because I used to bake a lot and Mika loves to bake. So anyways, we are adding cookie dough to our freezer cooking just to add that so that we can kind of get back to that, because some of my younger kids like only have had homemade cookies like 3 times a year. My older two used to get cookies like every 2 or 3 days, but now I just kind of am always busy and never have time. So anyways, I've already put my butter, peanut butter, sugars, eggs, all that in the bottom, mixed it all up. Now I'm adding my dry ingredients to the top and giving it all a big mix, and then I'm going to put it in the freezer for just a few, and then start making the logs and start making up some cookies just for us to eat tonight, because I haven't made peanut butter cookies since we found out she was allergic to peanuts at all, just because I feel bad when I make things she can't have, even though on occasion I do make her the SunButter cookies. Just because I want to make those for her, I do feel like she gets left out at times. So I have 3 logs of peanut butter cookie ready to go in the freezer, and then I've got this whole pan I'm about to put in the oven. I just pulled these out of the oven, and then I made Penny 4 of these so she can have 2 now and 2 later tonight. That's all I got done today in 4 hours. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would love if you'd give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so, and I would love to chat in the comments below, guys. Bye.